Hello, this is Claus Jensen presenting the second Anand Gelfand rest day video. In my first rest day video, one of the comments was that he'd rather see the first World Championship match between Steinitz and Zukertort than watching Anand and Gelfand. And when I read this comment, I thought, hey, why not? Because it would be an excellent opportunity to show how the first World Chess Championship match went. So in this video you will see the first game of the 1886 World Chess Championship match between Johannes Zukertort and Wilhelm Steinitz. And the match was played over 20 games. The first games were played in New York, then they played some games in St. Louis before ending the match in New Orleans. And except from this game, Steinitz had a terrible start to the match. After 5 games he was down 1-4. He did come back strong though, to win the match 12.5 to 7.5 and thereby become the first official world champion of the world. Some interesting rules applied to this match. Time controls were 30 moves in 2 hours and 15 moves per hour hereafter. And in case of a draw, the players would have to play another game. And if this game was also drawn, they would have to play a third game. And only if this third game was drawn, the result would stand. Wow, these rules would have been nice in the current Anand Gelfand match. But enough history for now. Let's have a look at how Steinitz won the very first game of the match from the black side of a Slav, would you believe it? d4, d5, c4, c6, e3, bishop f5, knight c3, e6, knight f3, knight d7, a3, bishop d6, c5, which is not a move played that often today, bishop c7, b4. But Zukertort grabs space on the queen side early on, and Steinitz judges that the best medicine against this is to strike in the center immediately, so e5. Bishop e2, knight g to f6, bishop b2. And now Steinitz plays e4, closes the center and starts an early kingside aggression after knight d2 and h5. And I believe here the principled answer from Zukertort was b5. After which we have a very sharp game on both flanks. Knight f8, rook b1, knight g6, queen a4, queen d7, b takes, and knight b5 is a move. And with very interesting play on both sides. But Zukertort didn't play b5, he played h3 here. And now Steinitz has time to reposition his knight. Knight f8, a4, knight g6, and now comes this delayed b5, but Steinitz has improved his knight, and now he can play knight h4. Of course, threatening on g2. And this is a good example of how important time is in chess. You cannot waste time when there's play on both flanks. You have to act immediately. g3 from Zukertort, and surely he expected the knight to go back, but Steinitz here played knight g2 check. And after king f1, then the knight is trapped. But Steinitz had foreseen that he gets excellent compensation for the knight after the knight sack, knight takes e3. F takes, bishop takes, g3. King g2, bishop c7. And again, the most principled and best way to continue the queenside attack here for Zukertort is surely a5. But he must have felt intimidated by the Steinitz sack, and now he played queen g1 here. But then he faces trouble after rook h6. Of course, the threat now is rook g6, and Zukertort plays king f1. Rook g6 came anyway, queen f2, queen d7, b takes c6, b takes c6, rook g1, and after bishop takes h3, Steinitz now has 3 pawns for the knight, and the initiative as well. King e1, knight g4, bishop takes, knight e2, queen e7, knight f4, and rook h6. And Zukertort is outplayed, and he struggles to get his pieces into action. He plays bishop c3 here. g5 follows. Knight has to go back. Rook f6. Queen has to move. And now Steinitz plays the very nice move, rook f3. And of course, knight cannot take here, because then e takes f3 with the fork on the queen and the knight. So instead, knight f1 from Zukertort, and then rook b8. With this move, Steinitz takes time to occupy the open file on the queen side as well. He is simply dominating all of the board. King d2, and here queen f6 was a very strong move, but Steinitz here played f5, which is also a good move, and even knight h2 here could look promising for white, but queen f6, knight takes, f takes is still winning for Steinitz. And in the game, Zukertort played a5, and Steinitz keeps pushing forward, f4, rook h1. Zukertort is in all kinds of trouble. Queen f7, rook e1, and now the next logical step is of course to open the f-file. F takes e3, knight takes e3, rook f2, and here if rook h to f1, then still rook takes queen, rook takes queen, rook takes, knight with check, rook takes, and king takes f7, and 3 pawns up, and a clearly winning position for Steinitz. So queen takes f2 followed instead. Queen takes, knight takes g4, bishop f4 check, king c2, h takes g4, and Steinitz's remaining pieces are coordinating very nicely, and the bishop is defending the rook on b8, so rook h8 check doesn't work because the rook is defended on b8. So instead, Zukertort played bishop d2 here. Then came e3, bishop c1, queen d2, king c3, king d7, rook h7 check, and now Steinitz brings his king into the attack, so to speak. King e6, rook h6, king f5. And in this position, where Steinitz brings his king into the action, Zukertort becomes desperate, and in this position he plays bishop takes e3, but it doesn't matter, anything would lose at this point. Bishop takes e3, rook f1 check, bishop f4, and both rook and knight is hanging, and on rook e1 would follow queen f3 check, king c2, queen b3 checkmate. So after bishop f4, Zukertort resigned the very first World Chess Championship match game ever played, at least official, you can say. And I hope you enjoyed this game, and I hope to see you on my chess website at klausjensen.com. This was my second rest day video of the day, and this is all for me. See you tomorrow for the 7th game of the Anand Gelfand match. Bye bye for now.